Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fan Dummies. I'm Greg.
And I'm Erin.
And this is the top 5 ways the Jupiter's Legacy TV show is different than the comic books. If you absolutely love Jupiter's Legacy, we have a full podcast episode we'll link in the description. If you want to buy any of these comic books after you hear this awesome list, those links are also in the description below. You ready to get started, Erin?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, before we start, this is going to be massive spoilers. So if you haven't watched the show and you care about the comics at all, like you plan to go read them, skip this. All right, let's do it. Number 5. There is no clone of Blackstone, and Brandon doesn't kill him in the comics.
Wow.
In the show, there's a big fight, and Blackstone is about to blow up, and Brandon decides to punch his face in, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the comic, that same fight happens, but the Union ends up beating him, and Brandon essentially does nothing. So it's a big difference.
Interesting.
And it has a lasting impact on the TV series because the Blackstone cloning thing is part of Brainwave's master plan to pin Skyfox with some sort of evil.
Mm-hmm.
Brainwave's trying to do bad stuff and pin it on Skyfox. So none of that is happening in the comic.
It's all for the show.
Yeah, it's all for the show. Number 4, Chloe and Hutch are dating in the comics from the beginning. The whole van scene in the show where Hutch and his friends are like stealing the case for the big man and the magic van and all this other thing where they slide sideways and run into Chloe after she's done with the photo shoot and all that, completely made up for the show. It didn't happen in the comics. This is also a huge deal because at this time, Chloe is pregnant in the comics with Hutch's baby. So they have a bun in the oven together. And it hasn't even gotten to that point in the show, if that's truly going to happen, which I assume it would, probably in season 2.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
It seems like they left out a huge story.
Yeah. The story is quite a bit different. Number 3, there is very little family drama between Sheldon, Grace, Brandon, and Chloe in the comic books. And that's essentially what the entire show is.
Yeah.
Is their like family drama.
So I'm hearing that the comics are better.
Chloe and Brandon are rebellious and there are issues, but Sheldon and Grace seem really supportive in the comics. So much so that Grace even tells Chloe that Sheldon, aka Utopian, is really excited about the baby and is already like getting a bunch of her baby stuff out and like making up a room, and they invite her back home while she's pregnant to live with them. And it seems like what a normal family would do. Once there's a bun in the oven, right? You have to prepare for the baby, and that's what they do. I can't imagine in the show that it would have gone that smoothly.
Doesn't seem like Chloe would want to move back home either.
Right. I mean, can you imagine Chloe telling Utopian in the show, hey, I'm pregnant with Skyfox's kid's kid?
Mm-mm.
Wouldn't have been good.
Yeah.
I mean, in the comic, he tells Hutch, hey, if you're anything like your father, stay away from Chloe. Like, he does do the like tough guy fatherly routine. That's
because Skyfox is the villain.
Right.
Hutch is the villain's son.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense that he would think that he's a bad guy.
Yeah, it's like the whole Romeo and Juliet type of deal. But this is a pretty big difference. Number 2, the ordeal of how they get their superpowers is different in the comics.
Different?
Yeah. There is an island, but everything else is completely different. There's no color hand things where people have to leave their problems behind, make amends. Touch, make amends. None of that garbage. There's no tests, right, where they have to not kill each other for the door to open. Sheldon doesn't see his dead father talking into his ear. Essentially, he had a single vision and convinced his close friends to go on an expedition. I mean, they're all essentially rich dudes.
Mhm.
So he says, hey, I had a vision. Let's go to this island. And they said, yeah, okay. Let's do it. And they traverse the island and they realize that the island is made of metal. It's actually an alien spaceship.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And they find a door. They go through the door. It's not like anything weird. They go through a door and it transports them somewhere else. You do not see Jupiter at all like you do in the show. But when you go there, they're not seeing their dead relatives. They meet two aliens and the aliens give them superpowers.
Wow. It's a lot different for an origin story. They should have stuck with the comic book.
This entire TV show, they should have stuck to the comic book.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the complete opposite of Invincible,
Yeah.
where they improved little things here and there.
Mm-hmm.
No, they totally ran over the comic book story with a bus with this show. And the number one reason the Jupiter's Legacy TV show is different from the comic books. Brandon, Sheldon's son, Utopian son,
Mm-hmm.
and Brainwave are the villains. Early on in the comic, Brainwave and Brandon turn on Utopian and Lady Liberty. Brainwave kills Lady Liberty right in front of her house.
Wow.
Well, Brainwave and a bunch of other superheroes he convinces to help him. And Brandon actually kills Utopian. He laser eyes his head right in.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a huge spoiler.
It's a huge spoiler. Hutch rescues pregnant Chloe because they were going to kill Chloe too.
Oh, yeah.
Because Chloe was with Lady Liberty at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Hutch, he has that power rod. That's his only superpower, but he uses it really well. So he uses the power rod to appear next to Chloe and rescues Chloe at the very last minute, and they go into hiding. Essentially, the comic book is Brandon and Chloe's story pretty much. Brandon goes on to take over the United States, and Chloe goes into hiding until eventually Brandon irritates Chloe, and Chloe decides it's time to fight back. That's the comic book. Doesn't that sound like an amazing story?
Yes. That sounds like a lot better story.
Yeah, it is. What we got on the TV show, terrible compared.
Didn't you say like Brandon and the uncle live in the White House? And
Yeah.
And Chloe and Hutch's baby grows up to be a superhero. That's how they find him.
Yeah. At 10 years old, Chloe's son, which I can't remember his name, but Chloe's son starts fighting crime because Chloe tells him all the stories of Utopian and he wants to be a superhero like his grandfather. So he starts fighting crime and gets caught. And Chloe ain't having that. And she's super, super powerful.
Yeah.
Like powerful like Utopian was when he was young. Brandon doesn't even know what's coming for him.
It seems like a huge change in the story because Brandon in the show, he doesn't really have a big role. Chloe has a bigger storyline in the show.
Yeah.
But you're saying in the comics, it's all about Brandon and Uncle and Chloe as well. So it seems like maybe they're holding off for season 2 to introduce us to the real Brandon.
Yeah. I feel like they're turning Chloe into the villain. I don't know. Just something tells me maybe Chloe's going to become the villain of the story. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so different because Brandon, you can see him coming around in the show where he doesn't want to kill anymore, that he kind of regrets killing Blackstone, although he doesn't see a way he could have not killed him, but he does believe in the code. And I think that's a powerful story, but they didn't tell it very well in the show.
Wow. That number 1 is huge.
I know. That's why it's
different.
That's why it's number 1. Thank you so much for watching Fan Dummies. What were your top differences from the show to the comic? Let us know in the comments below. We would love to talk about that stuff with you. Of course, you can find us on all social media at Fan Dummies. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, give it a subscribe. And if you really loved it, hit the bell so you know when our next videos are released. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
If you like Jupiter's Legacy and you want more content like Jupiter's Legacy, check out these videos up here for other comic book adapted TV shows. Thanks.